The evening rush at Bella. Notte was in full swing when Ethan Cole walked through the glass doors, his tailored suit catching the warm amber light of the restaurant. He had chosen this place for its quiet reputation, a spot away from business meetings and camera flashes, somewhere he could breathe. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments where in the world are you watching from. His assistant had made the reservation. As usual, Ethan arrived alone. Wealth had given him everything except the one thing he had once thrown away without fully understanding its value. He was seated at a corner table, handed a leather-bound menu, and left to the comfortable silence he had grown so accustomed to. He loosened his cufflinks, ordered sparkling water, and let his eyes drift across the warm room, filled with couples and families, sharing meals and laughter that felt foreign to him now. He was about to open the menu when a familiar movement caught his eye. The careful, deliberate way a woman balanced a tray while navigating a crowd, her one free hand resting protectively over her rounded belly.
Time stopped.
The menu slipped from his fingers. Standing just 15 feet away, in a black waitress apron and tired eyes, was Sophia, his ex-wife. Sophia, who had once filled their penthouse, apartment with paintings and the smell of lavender candles. Sophia, whom he had let go 3 years ago in a storm of pride and misunderstanding. Sophia, who was unmistakably heartbreakingly pregnant. She hadn't seen him yet. Her attention was on the elderly couple she was serving, her smile professional and gentle, the same smile he had once taken completely for granted. Ethan's chest tightened. A dozen questions rose in his throat at once. He watched her laugh softly at something the old man said, refill a water glass with steady hands, then turn. Their eyes met. The color drained from her face. For one fragile second, neither of them moved. Then Sophia straightened her spine, lifted her chin, and walked toward his table. The way only someone who has survived real hardship can walk, with quiet dignity that has been earned through pain. "Ethan," she said, her voice low and controlled. "I didn't know you came here." "I didn't know you worked here," he replied, and immediately regretted how stupid it sounded. She gave a small nod and asked if she could take his order, keeping her eyes on the notepad in her hands. He felt a sudden, sharp anger, not at her, but at himself. At the version of him who had signed the divorce papers without fighting, who had told himself she would be fine, who had never once checked. "Sophia, please sit down," he said quietly. "I'm working," she replied without looking up. "I know, but please." Something in his voice made her pause. She glanced at the manager across the room, then slowly slid into the seat across from him, keeping her hands folded on the table. Her posture, the kind that says, "I have nothing to hide and nothing to ask of you." Ethan didn't know where to begin. His eyes moved once to her stomach before he caught himself. "How long have you been working here?" he asked. 8 months, she said simply. He did the math in his head, and it made him sick with shame. "After the settlement, I thought I had enough." She continued before he could speak, as though she had rehearsed this in case they ever met. "But the investment my brother convinced me to trust turned out to be a disaster. Everything was gone in 4 months. I had to start over." She said it without bitterness, without blame, and that made it worse. "Sophia," he said, and his voice cracked just slightly, "whose child is it?" She looked at him then, really looked at him, and he saw years of unanswered feelings behind her calm. "Mine," she said. "I was with someone briefly after we divorced. It didn't work out. He left when I told him about the pregnancy." Ethan exhaled slowly. "You should have told me," he said before realizing he had no right to say it. She surprised him. "Maybe," she admitted softly. "But we weren't in each other's lives anymore. Ethan, I didn't think you'd want to know." He reached across the table and very carefully placed his hand over hers. She didn't pull away. "I made a terrible mistake letting you go," he said, and for the first time in years, he meant every single word he spoke. "I don't need saving," she told him firmly. "I know," he said, "but maybe I do." They talked for 2 hours that night. Through the dinner crowd and past closing time, Past the moment the manager dimmed the lights and the kitchen staff went home. They talked the way they never had during their marriage, honestly, without armor. Ethan didn't offer money. He offered time, presence, and accountability, the things he had withheld before. Sophia didn't promise forgiveness overnight. She promised honesty. When she finally stood to leave and tied her coat over her belly, Ethan walked her to her car and said he wanted to be there if she would allow it. Not as her rescuer, but simply as someone who was finally ready to be real. She drove away into the quiet night, and Ethan stood in the empty
parking lot feeling?
Something he hadn't felt in years. Hope, the kind that is fragile and earned and absolutely worth protecting. If this story moved your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel Kindness True Stories, where every story reminds us that it is never too late to choose love, honesty, and the courage to begin again.